There's a ton to get through today's video, so let's just crack right into it. Today it's all about the Nike Air Max 95 New York City Taxi. Now I've already done this right here, which is the Nike Air Max 90 Chicago, and I said in that video that this was the only video about this city special pack that I was going to do. There's, I think there's an LA in there and there's an Atlanta in there as well. I think there might be even more than that. There might be 2 New York cities too. But I wanted to do this shoe, but I thought, you know what, the Air Max 90 Chicago's, I'm going to go with them, especially because there was an upcoming release of a Nike Air Max 95 Japan, and here I am in Tokyo, Japan, so that took my attention. But you know what? It's been ages since that Air Max 90 video about the Chicagos, and the drop dates just kept on getting pushed back and back and back, and that's created enough space for me to do this video for you guys today. And we'll go straight to the question number 1, even before the title scene on this video, the title screen that I usually put in. I'm just going straight in with the vote. I said in the title of this video, it's about a vote, and the question is, are these yellow or are these orange? So hit us up with a comment down below and tell us your take on that, and then check out everybody else's comments to see whether or not you agree and see which is coming out on top, the orange or yellow. Being the New York City Taxi, you'd expect them to be a little bit more yellow, but still, are they yellow enough? Comments down below. But enough about that. We've got to get into the video today. We've got to talk about it. Here's a Tokyo Nike Air Max 95, and particularly the mesh around the top on this guy and the mesh on this shoe today is going to come into play. And we'll also talk about all the little hits that make this one of the best shoes of the season. So without further ado, let's get into this and talk about the upcoming release of the Nike Air Max 95 New York City Taxi. This is the Tokyo Butter 23 Sneaker Channel. Tokyo Butter 23 Sneaker Channel Day. This is my niche episode of the day. I manage me to decide every single day, 7 days a week, even on the weekends. I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And today we've got in the spotlight the upcoming release of the Nike Air Max 95 New York City Taxi. And I believe the drop date now, officially, currently, is March 27th, which is kind of interesting since there's a whole heap of Nike Air Maxes coming on March 26th. So questions about the timing of that after the delay that's been put on this city special pack. And like I said, we already had the Chicagos and talked about them at the channel with the Air Max 90s, and then because of that pushback in the drop date, we've got a little bit of space to talk about these Air Max 95s. I'm going to go straight in with these guys right here. If you know what these are, some people call them the Mount Fujis, some people call them the Tokyos, and some people call them Obsidian Blue. And the reason they call them the Fujis is because up here on the tongue it'll be really hard to see. There's a picture of Mount Fuji up there, and the dot in the Air Max above the eye is the red dot of the rising sun of here in Japan. The other 2 features on these guys here, again, extremely hard for you guys to see. It says in Japanese at the very top on the highest eyelet there, "Just do it." And then my favorite hit on this shoe is in Japanese on the outsole, Tokyo. It says Tokyo on these guys right there. And I de-iced these just about a week ago. I've been holding on to them for almost 2 years. And I de-iced them just about 2 weeks ago, I think it was. But the main thing that I want to get out to you guys here today isn't about the hits and the detail. It's all about this mesh up here. And it's probably easiest seen in the toe box. Hopefully that's lighting up for you guys there. You can see the mesh on the front is protected, and then this little bit of mesh on here is not protected. I hope that showed up well enough for you guys there. I'll try and get you another angle to give you an idea of that protected mesh along there, and then the unprotected mesh along that side of the shoe. Hopefully that all showed up, but you can park it because it doesn't matter, because what we're looking at here is the top part of the shoe with the mesh on there, and it's double layered just like Air Max 95 should be, but there's no protection on the second layer of mesh, which you do see on these Tokyos right here. So a little detail there to start the video off, and that's the kind of details we want to get into as we run through the entire shoe. So let's get into that right now and start high, work our way down low. So we're up there on the tongues, and we want to look at the branding on the tongues. Looked very, very nice on the recent pair of shoes I did, which was the Air Max 95 LeBrons or Lakers, whichever way you want to call that shoe, which had mismatched, opposite matched tongue branding up there. But in the case of these guys, it's similar from the left shoe and the right shoe, with that kind of yellow main head of color and then a bit of black on the side, the black and the yellow being the main features of the New York City taxi cabs. So there's your first sort of hit of black and yellow up there on the tongue branding. And then, I was going to go down from that to the laces, but I'm going to go back from it first and have a little peek into the insole, and you can see the unique branding that comes in on there. It says 2 things. One is NYC for New York City, and we'll come back to that later because it's repeated elsewhere on the shoe. And the other thing is it says City Special on the inside there, because sometimes you get city packs. I've seen a few city packs in the last 18 months to 24 months, 2 years. Some really nice city packs, especially from Air Max 1 and Air Max 90. But then here we are with this City Special pack. All about American cities and USA cities, and this particular one being the New York City Taxi, because I'm pretty sure there's another New York City one out there. So looking down onto the insole, you can see, like I said, you've got the NYC in there for New York City, but you've also got City Special for the nod to the rest of the pack that this shoe fits in. Now I'm going to go to the heel first, and then we'll go back to the laces in a second. So we'll go to the heel and just look at the simple branding on the back. They're all yellow upper on this shoe with a couple of hits of black, and the black branding on the back is what we're talking about right now. But the big thing I want to focus in on is how high the black hits are on the upper, because then the rest of the upper is pretty much completely yellow, and then we'll get to the outsole in a bit that creates a kind of sandwich effect with the high and low black and everything in the middle being yellow. So on the back of these guys, you've got that high black branding on the back, and then everything else there on the heel is just straight up yellow. Now we'll travel forward to the laces, and then we'll get to the upper after that. So laces first, and the main thing I want to be looking at is just those those lace stays on the side there, the loops that loop up. They've done a great job on these guys of adding a little bit of color to them with the black on there as well, and it gives that definition. If you imagine these guys yellow only, if they were the same color as the rest of the upper and they had no black hits in them, imagine how completely yellow this shoe would have looked, and it would have been a little bit too much. So that one little hit, tiny little border around the edge of those lace loops in black, give this whole shoe a completely different feel and a completely different look. And speaking of that, let's get down into that upper. The horizontal layers of the Air Max 95 are very classic upper, known to many people out there, especially sneakerheads. But in the case of these guys, there's no gradient that I can see. It's a solid yellow top to toe across the 4 layers. To give you an idea of what I'm talking about, we'll jump over to those LeBrons, and actually I think I've got a picture of the yellow ones. I'm pretty sure it's the yellow ones, and you'll be able to see the gradient of the yellow as it darkens throughout the sort of horizontal, the vertical line up and down across those horizontal lines vertically. So it's not a fade from back to front, it's a fade from top to bottom, with the color changing color there, and then back to today's shoe, and you can see how solid that yellow is on there with not at all any gradient in there to speak of. And then down from that and into the outsole, which is also in that solid yellow color, and then into the air units that appear along the side, and you can look inside there, and also there in that yellow colorway. So again, if we're back out looking at the whole lateral side of these guys, there's not much on there to speak of black. So those black lace loops up the top are really essential to bring a bit of balance to the shoe. The only little hit of black is if we go to the back of the lateral side, and there's 2 things on there. One is the standard swoosh that only appears on the heel on the lateral side. In the case of these guys, I think I'm right in saying I want to go with a yellow swoosh with a black outline, and usually when I'm trying to do things from memory I get it wrong, so it's probably a black swoosh with a yellow outline. And now that I think about it, I might be right in that it's a black swoosh with a yellow outline. So remember the border on it sort of fading into the same color as the rest of the upper, and it kind of being a bit lost in there. So I think black with the yellow border around it. But the more important feature is below that. You've got the black tab on there that says New York City, or NYC I should say. It doesn't say New York City, and that's the feature of this shoe, that and the insole branding being the only real major explicit nods to New York City taxis, whereas the color and the colorway is kind of more of an implicit nod. So that's your kind of upper half of the shoe, and like I said, the bit that brings balance to all that is the black outsole. We'll flip these guys upside down, and you see it from the side, it was a black sort of unit, but then looking at the flush, you can see it's actually a very yellow and black unit on there, especially at the forefoot, where you've got some sort of checker going on there with the grid and the grip on there, and then that branding panel that I talked about on these guys, saying Tokyo up and down here on mine, it's just black and yellow on these guys, and I was a bit disappointed in that. I thought they could have put an NYC in there to give it a little bit more pop, but that's something you look for and don't find. It's a great shoe. It's a beautiful shoe. It's an absolutely epic New York City shoe. So no, missing out on that NYC on the outsole is not that major a deal, especially since it's the least seen part of the shoe, if you know what I'm saying. So back out looking at the big shoes, look at the whole thing. Hopefully I've taken you through that shoe by bit by bit, and you've got an idea of what's going on the inside of these guys and the outside of these guys, and I've given you that view that tells you whether or not you want to grab a pair of these guys on March the 27th. And even more important than that, you can now knowledgeably tell me in the comments down below whether you think this shoe is yellow or orange, because that was the title of this video. Let's have a vote about it. Tell me in the comments down below. For now though, time for me to do what I do at the end of every single video and just finish this one up. Thank you guys for checking out the content. I do truly appreciate it. But you know what? Because I do this every single day, that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.